you've got more bodies who actually know the market, and you're adding a lot more value. Do you see that happening ever, that consumer would actually pay like $20 for the advice that you're giving out?
Philosophically, I don't. I want, the thing that I keep an eye on for us is our business. In the United States, each year there are, I think, 1.5 million seniors moving into senior care every year. We're directly responsible and paid on something like 3% or 4%. So what I want to do is get that 4 to 8 to 12 and so forth. Try to monetize at 20, at a $20 level for the service that we're creating. It doesn't give me the market share that I ultimately want, and it creates friction in my system. I would rather have that share and be kind of dominant player than be kind of a service provider and grow even more slowly.
So
can I just a quick follow-up? In
Yes.
general, I mean, anybody's opinion on this, do you see that the market would be right for actually consumers beginning to pay for information online, or does it always have to be free and we need to monetize it somewhere on the back end?
You can ask the newspaper companies.
Do you get referrals from customers who come through your?
We do, not a tremendous number.
Not so.
No, it's not bulk material. Right.
I want to answer that question. I think it depends. I think if it's an information that you can get 80% of that information for free, it's very hard to build a paywall. So that's why news organizations, they continue to struggle. Because you can get not basically the Pulitzer Prize winning author writing an article about Obama's view on Afghanistan, but some dude will write an article that's good enough. And so to me, I think it's very hard to monetize that content. But if you have content which is very exclusive and it's not readily available, people are willing to pay a price for that. So you just have to find those niches. So, for example, coming back to the movies, exactly, pay scale is one. Again, in movie studios, like you have Hollywood Reporter and Variety, and they have like just, their entire model is pay. But whenever you do pay, the subscribership is very, very less. So you just have to figure out basically like what you're trying to attempt and then come up with the right model.
And think about your end game. Sort of where do you want to ultimately go with it? Because I think it's certainly possible to charge for content, but from a share standpoint, is it? Are you going to be threatened by somebody doing an end around by offering it for free?
Right. So it's hard. The free money, it's hard because. So I'm on the board of a company called Cheeseburger, which one of the top, 125 sites on the web, and just I could tell you the traffic that would blow your mind. It's really hard to make money just on advertising, and so unless there's some other kind of anyone that comes in is trying to build any size business just based on sort of advertising or on content, very difficult. It may change over time, but currently you need to be of a size of just epic proportions to really have a decent business in that space.
Another way to
Yes.
think of it is sometimes it's like less than a couple bucks a page of all the advertising you could possibly put on a page per thousand pages.
I mean,
So if you
The
do
math
that
doesn't work.
math, you need a lot of.
it doesn't work. It doesn't, and it's very difficult. You need to be at a real scale to be able to afford a direct sales force. So this idea of unless you're unless you have just incredible traffic, that's a difficult model.
Look, there's another question over there.
Yes.
Anyone can answer this. How are you building your leads? Are you using video, social media strategies on your websites? What are you capturing at to get those leads, besides paying for them?
From a consumer standpoint, we do SEO, SEM in terms of Google pay-per-click, and affiliates, and that is the majority.
Nothing social media?
We're trying to do social. We have not succeeded in making it work in any volume.
You guys use social media at all?
Well, we used it more as blog bait frankly, build our SEO. We're trying to do it, but it's,
Is Google rewarding you now for like any kind of social media stuff or not really?
not really. Not really. And actually, someone was just at one cuts, I think, said this thing last week and said that there was a total detachment between Facebook and Google search, so.
Yeah. You understand, one of the interesting things about SEO is like all the different people linking to you sort of drive you up. But so you have a lot of Facebook, you know, even a lot of Facebook traffic. If they're not, if Google isn't sort of counting that as sort of relevant, that can be an issue. But they will eventually.
I mean, another comment on the
Yeah.
social, because I know that, you know, we haven't addressed that, but it's obviously, I've seen a lot of questions and the preliminary papers we got and all. Facebook is the internet to many people. And so,
25%
this is still a nascent area for, like, and, you know, all of us need to be shifting to aggressively understand how to market there. And when we talk about Groupon and kind of what's going on there, you know, it's basically people are trying to figure out and are figuring out, you know, what's virally interesting socially or what people are willing to recommend, right? And there are a bunch of measurements that are still very hard to come by that we want to get, you know, which is like for every one Facebook user that shares some of our content, can we measure how many more Facebook users we get as a result of that? You know, to fractional detail, because, you know, if you can show that for every one user I get 1.1 more, or even less, it's a positive uptick, you know, then you've got a viral proposition that you can leverage inside of that ecosystem. And I think Groupon has, you know, a majority of their traffic comes from that ecosystem all by itself. They advertise and stuff, they got a lot of money too, but so that's a very important area that, you know, we haven't touched on.
No, I'm glad that you raised. I know that some of I know we have a company of AdReady that does basically, you know, works with a bunch of clients to try to get them leads, other things, and I think it's still early enough on Facebook where the best sort of deals that they're being able to get for their clients tend to be Facebook ads, just because it's still so cheap to get so much, you know, so much traffic, and so it's definitely an area that is, you know, even over the last 6 months, I think is a lot of folks have been focused on. So we have two things I want to cover before the witching hour. I want to make sure we get talk a little bit about DataSphere, and then make sure we hit international as well. So, are there any sort of desperate questions before we do? It was sort of okay.
There's only one.
Desperate?
Basically, how is the traffic shifting from Google to social media? That's all. Has it shifted?
I didn't get the question, sorry.
So, has now that the Facebook has
Conversations are
become the
shifting.
internet, share of traffic coming in, at least to the lead gen sites, has it shifted from Google SEO to Facebook?
Well, the conversations are shifting and the teeth gnashing is shifting. I'm not so sure the true cause effect is shifting yet.
What do you
I'm
do?
not seeing a shift, or if it is shifting, it's not decreasing on the Google side, and we're not seeing it pick up at all on the Facebook side. But you got to bear in mind, ours is a pretty specific demographic. Adult daughters about 50 years old or so.
Yeah, I think it depends. I think Facebook has proven impact on a couple of articles. So driving traffic for news sites, it just goes in the flow because news feed. So I think we've seen basically anyone participating in content side, you have to take advantage of Facebook distribution. If you have anything related to games that can be integrated in the flow, it gets basically tremendously a lot of activities. In fact, if you look at Zynga, basically Facebook drives the majority of the traffic for them. The things that have not worked, and I was at Amazon driving traffic, and back then Facebook was tiny and MySpace was a lot bigger when I left Amazon. When people are in the context of their page and you slap in basically an ad for things on the site, those don't get responses. So to me, I think the areas that I personally think on the social that are up for experimentation, I'm seeing some good ones, is you take the connections between individuals asynchronously, offline, and build something on top of social graph, which is what Groupon has done. Groupon is not getting lots of activities when people are communicating about photographs with other friends, but what they're doing is they're